First Capitol, 1837. A rough wooden structure, built when Madison was just a baby town. Looked more like a large cabin than a government building. Burned down in fireplace-related accident. Yes, really, in 1837. Second Capitol, 1839. A slightly more impressive stone building, but still kinda wimpy. Too small and drafty. Basically the legislative version of an underwhelming Airbnb. Third Capitol, 1857. Bigger, fancier, complete with a central dome. Used for over 50 years until it was partially destroyed by fire in 1904. The fire was so dramatic that firefighters had to throw important documents out windows into the snow. The fourth and current Capitol, completed 1917. Designed by architect George B. Post, who also helped design the New York Stock Exchange. Took 11 years to build and cost $7.25 million. That's over $200 million today. The only U.S. Capitol with a granite dome, made entirely of white Bethel granite from Vermont. 3 feet taller than the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., because of course. Cool features inside. Rotunda, 284 feet high, with a 36-foot wide dome. Bigger than most egos in politics. Mosaics by Kenyon Cox and murals reflecting agriculture, art, and law. Hand-carved marble from Italy, France, and Germany. The Wisconsin statue on top, nicknamed Miss Forward, wears a badger helmet and faces Lake Monona. Capitol Square, more than just a roundabout, surrounds the Capitol like a political mode of democracy, cheese, and protest signs. Laid out in 1836, when the city was still being planned on paper. Originally housed government buildings and elite homes. Now it's a bustling mix of restaurants and cafes, banks and bookstores, political offices and coffee-fueled activism. Things that happen at the Capitol Square. Dane County Farmers Market. Started in 1972, it's the largest producer-only farmers market in the U.S. Locals walk the square counterclockwise, just like the produce gods intended. Protests and marches. Civil rights, union rights, climate action, you name it. In 2011, tens of thousands protested Governor Scott Walker's Act 10. Some even camped out in the rotunda. Protest signs once covered so much of the interior that it looked like a giant Pinterest board of rage. Holiday tree lighting. The Capitol Rotunda hosts a huge Christmas tree every winter, decorated with handmade ornaments from students across the state. Concerts on the square. Free outdoor classical music series. People bring lawn chairs, wine, cheese, and sometimes a tuba playing dachshund. Remember when someone proposed to their partner on the steps and then got arrested in the protest 5 minutes later? I've housed more drama than The Bachelor and more cheese than a Culver's. Final fun facts. The Capitol is so protected that no building in Madison can be taller than it, giving Madison its iconic skyline. Its echoing rotunda makes it a favorite spot for singing unions, protesting teachers, and confused tourists. First Capitol, 1837. A rough wooden structure, built when Madison was just a baby town. Looked more like a large cabin than a government building. Burned down in fireplace-related accident. Yes, really, in 1837. Second Capitol, 1839. A slightly more impressive stone building, but still kinda wimpy. Too small and drafty. Basically the legislative version of an underwhelming Airbnb. Third Capitol, 1857. Bigger, fancier, complete with a central dome. Used for over 50 years until it was partially destroyed by fire in 1904. The fire was so dramatic that firefighters had to throw important documents out windows into the snow. The fourth and current Capitol, completed 1917. Designed by architect George B. Post, who also helped design the New York Stock Exchange. Took 11 years to build and cost $7.25 million. That's over $200 million today. The only U.S. Capitol with a granite dome, made entirely of white Bethel granite from Vermont. 3 feet taller than the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., because of course. Cool features inside. Rotunda, 284 feet high, with a 36-foot wide dome. Bigger than most egos in politics. Mosaics by Kenyon Cox and murals reflecting agriculture, art, and law. Hand-carved marble from Italy, France, and Germany. The Wisconsin statue on top, nicknamed Miss Forward, wears a badger helmet and faces Lake Monona. Capitol Square, more than just a roundabout, surrounds the Capitol like a political mode of democracy, cheese, and protest signs. Laid out in 1836, when the city was still being planned on paper. Originally housed government buildings and elite homes, now it's a bustling mix of restaurants and cafes, banks and bookstores, political offices and coffee-fueled activism. Things that happen at the Capitol Square. Dane County Farmers Market. Started in 1972, it's the largest producer-only farmers market in the U.S. Locals walk the square counterclockwise, just like the produce gods intended. Protests and marches. Civil rights, union rights, climate action, you name it. In 2011, tens of thousands protested Governor Scott Walker's Act 10. Some even camped out in the rotunda. Protest signs once covered so much of the interior that it looked like a giant Pinterest board of rage. Holiday tree lighting. The Capitol Rotunda hosts a huge Christmas tree every winter, decorated with handmade ornaments from students across the state. Concerts on the square. Free outdoor classical music series. People bring lawn chairs, wine, cheese, and sometimes a tuba playing dachshund. Remember when someone proposed to their partner on the steps and then got arrested in the protest 5 minutes later? I've housed more drama than The Bachelor and more cheese than a Culver's. Final fun facts. The Capitol is so protected that no building in Madison can be taller than it, giving Madison its iconic skyline. Its echoing rotunda makes it a favorite spot for singing unions, protesting teachers, and confused tourists. State Street, Madison's main vein between brains and politics. State Street is the 8-block pedestrian-friendly artery connecting two of the city's most powerful institutions, the University of Wisconsin, Madison on one end, and the Wisconsin State Capitol on the other. A brief history of State Street. Mid-1800. Humble beginnings. In the 1850 to 1860, State Street was a muddy path that developed as the city expanded from the Capitol toward the newly founded University of Wisconsin, 1848. Originally lined with livery stables, grocers, and wood-frame homes, it quickly turned into a commercial corridor. Late 1800, early 1900, the streetcar era. Horse-drawn streetcars started in the 1860s, replaced by electric trolleys in the 1890s. By 1900, State Street had fancy department stores, ice cream parlors, movie houses, a mix of students, legislators, and proper ladies in big hats. It became a bustling shopping and social district, kind of like Madison's version of a European promenade. Mid-1900s, college culture takes over. With the rise of UW-Madison's student population, State Street began to shift. Department stores gave way to record shops, cafes, bookstores, and vintage clothing. It became a center of student protest during the 1960s and 70s, especially against the Vietnam War. The area was often filled with folk musicians, leafleters, picketers, and professors in corduroy. 1974. The big pedestrian pivot. State Street was officially redesigned to be pedestrian-focused, with limited bus and delivery access. This change made it safer, more walkable, a haven for street performers, chalk artists, and soapbox philosophers. 21st century State Street, still marching to its own beat. Today, State Street is a cultural mashup of local shops like Paul's Bookstore, open since 1954. National chains, sometimes debated. Restaurants serving everything from Thai to falafel to cheese curds. A place where you might see a banjo-playing clown, a drag brunch, and a student-led climate protest, all before lunch. Major events on State Street. Freak Fest, formerly the Halloween street party, once wild and costume-filled, now city-regulated. Mifflin Street Block Party, though not on State Street, its aftershocks always end up there. Protests and marches. State Street is the preferred route for activism, from anti-war movements to Black Lives Matter. Fun, silly, and strange State Street facts. A guy once rollerbladed down State Street in a cheesehead hat and cape, just for fun. A bar once hosted a lecture series about quantum physics with beer because Madison. There was a real movement to paint the street like a rainbow crosswalk for Pride Month, and it nearly happened. The State Street Brats' Red Brat is more famous than some local politicians. State Street is Madison's historic spine of energy, education, and expression. A daily stage for politics, performance, and pita raps. A street where a PhD candidate might debate Marxism with a mime over espresso. Breese Stevens Field, the grand old field of Madison. Location: 917 East Mifflin Street, on Madison's Near East Side, nestled in the Tenny Lapham neighborhood. 1920. Named after a lawyer with a long beard. The stadium is named after Breese J. Stevens, a prominent Madison mayor, 1884–85, and lawyer who donated the land. The field was originally envisioned as a public recreation space and athletic facility for Madison's East Side. 1926, built to last. Construction began in 1925, and the field officially opened in May 1926. Built using local limestone, it features a distinctive grandstand that's now on the National Register of Historic Places. Originally used for football, track, and community events. 1930 to 1950, a gridiron and civic hub. Hosted high school football games, boxing matches, and baseball. In the 1930s, it was a regular stop for barnstorming teams, including Negro League baseball and early pro football teams. Even President Harry Truman made a campaign stop there in 1948. 1960 to 1990, sports, protests, and punk rock. Continued to host local sports, but became a space for community rallies, political speeches, occasional concerts, and neighborhood events. Slowly fell into disrepair by the late 20th century. There were talks of tearing it down, but the community said, nope. 2000. The comeback era. Restoration. In the 2010, major investments and renovations brought the field back to life. Updated turf. Expanded seating. Event lighting. Restored grandstand. Sports return. Became home to Forward Madison FC, USL League One, in 2019, bringing pro soccer and a surge of energy to the venue. Also hosts Ultimate Frisbee, Madison Radicals, high school football, roller derby, broomball, and other weird but cool sports. Today, a music and event powerhouse. Breese Stevens is now one of Madison's top concert venues, hosting national touring acts, local bands, food festivals, outdoor movie nights, night markets, and public skate nights. Where else can you see a reggae concert on a Friday and a soccer match on Saturday and possibly a llama on Sunday? Fun and quirky facts. Fictional team cameo. In the Onion's fake sports section, a team called the Breese Stevens Badgers once won a fictional championship. Locals affectionately call it the Breezy. It's the only stadium in the U.S. where you can eat a brat, wave a plastic flamingo, and chant for a soccer team called the Flamingos. Forward Madison FC's mascot is Flamingo. Camp Randall, from Civil War camp to football cathedral. Location: at the heart of the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus, near Monroe Street and Regent Street. The early days, a Civil War training ground. 1861, Camp Randall is born. Named after Alexander Randall, Wisconsin's Civil War-era governor. Originally a Union Army training camp during the American Civil War. More than 70,000 Union soldiers trained at Camp Randall between 1861 to 1865. It also served briefly as a prisoner of war camp. Confederate prisoners were housed here under grim conditions after the Battle of Island No. 10 in 1862. The Civil War Memorial Arch and a small cemetery nearby are still preserved today. Transition to athletics, from muskets to mascots. Late 1800s. After the war, the land was turned over to the University of Wisconsin. It became a site for track and field and eventually football. 1917, the stadium opens. Camp Randall Stadium was built on the same grounds. Opening game. Wisconsin beat Minnesota 10-7 on November 3, 1917. Originally seated 11,000 fans, now it holds over 76,000. Stadium evolution over the years. Major expansions. 1950s, 2000. Dozens of upgrades, press boxes, upper decks, suites, locker rooms. Field turf was updated, luxury seating added, and the stadium modernized. 1998. Jump around begins. During a lull between third and fourth quarters versus Purdue, someone hit Jump Around by House of Pain on the PA. The entire stadium literally bounced, and it stuck. Now it's one of college football's most iconic traditions. Camp Randall today, a living monument. Home to the Wisconsin Badgers football team. Hosts graduations, concerts, and events like the Varsity Band Spring Concert. Barry Alvarez, Ron Dane, and Russell Wilson are just a few legends who electrified the field. On game days, it transforms into a red and white sea of cheeseheads, brats, beer, and Big Ten pride. Civil War remnants still exist. The Camp Randall Memorial Park, just outside the stadium, honors the site's wartime past. Includes a memorial arch, Civil War cannons, a small cemetery with Confederate POW burials, educational plaques and monuments. Urban legend says if you don't jump around, Bucky will find you in your sleep. One fan once dressed as Abraham Lincoln and tried to re-enlist during halftime. The stadium is so loud during big games. The seismograph in the UW Geology building once recorded tremors. Garver Feed Mill, from oats to artisanal everything. Location: 3241 Garver Green, just off Fair Oaks Avenue on Madison's east side. Tucked next to Olbrich Botanical Gardens, connected to the Capital City Trail and bike paths. Timeline and transformation. 1905, built to feed a booming region. Originally constructed as the U.S. Sugar Company plant to process sugar beets grown in southern Wisconsin. However, the beet industry didn't last long. Wisconsin was more into beer and brats than beets. 1929, reborn as Garver Feed Mill. Purchased by Garver Supply Company, the building became a feed mill. It was used to grind and package livestock feed, primarily for dairy farms, from 1929 to the 1990s. For decades, Garver was an essential hub for Wisconsin's dairy and farming economy. The site included concrete grain silos, packaging lines, a big old industrial vibe. 1997, closed and abandoned. The building shut down and fell into disrepair. For years, it stood as a massive, crumbling relic, covered in graffiti, filled with pigeons, and beloved by urban explorers and skateboarders. At one point, it was so derelict that it became the perfect set for a zombie movie if only someone had asked. 2017 to 2019, epic restoration. Local developers and city leaders saw its historic charm and architectural uniqueness. A major renovation project began to revive the structure while preserving its industrial character. Cost: over $10 million, lots of exposed brick ain't cheap. Today, a cultural and culinary hotspot. Garver Feed Mill is now a mixed-use space blending artisan food producers, health and wellness businesses, event space, local artists and makers. Inside you'll find Ian's Pizza Kitchen, Calliope Ice Cream, Ledger Coffee Roasters, Kosa Spa and Wellness Center, workshops, weddings, yoga, music, and more. Fun facts. The restoration reused as much of the original structure as possible, including old machinery, timbers, and steel. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. Garver is a favorite for photographers, event planners, and Insta-influencers. It's basically Madison's industrial chic prom queen. Warner Park, the Duck Pond, and beyond. Location: North Madison, off Sherman Avenue, nestled near Lake Mendota in the Ecken Park/Northport area. A brief history of Warner Park. The origins, 1950s to 1960s. Named after Owen Warner, a local businessman and community booster who loved parks and youth sports. The park was part of Madison's North Side development boom after World War II. Originally just open land with a few recreational fields and shelters. 1982, the fish pond is born. The stadium within Warner Park, affectionately known as the Fish Pond, opened as home to the Madison Muskies, a Class A baseball team, Oakland A's affiliate. The Muskies were a huge deal in the 80s and early 90s, drawing families with bat giveaways, fireworks nights, the infamous Muskie mascot, an unsettlingly tall fish costume. 1994 to 2000, Mallards take over. After the Muskies left, several short-lived teams came and went. In 2001, the Duck Pond is born. The Madison Mallards, Northwoods League, launched as a summer collegiate baseball team. The Mallards were a hit from the start, blending decent baseball with outrageous in-game antics, wild promotions, and an atmosphere closer to a party than a game. The Duck Pond today seats over 6,000 fans, many in retro-style bleachers and duck-blind party areas. Known for weird mascots like Maynard the Mallard, bratwurst slingshots, toilet seat races, all-you-can-eat ticket zones, legendary fireworks shows and themed nights, e.g., Star Wars Night or Office Olympics. Warner Park beyond baseball. What else is there? Tennis and pickleball courts, large shelter and grilling areas, playgrounds, dog park, huge open fields for soccer, flying kites, community festivals, 4th of July celebrations. Warner Park has hosted Madison's largest fireworks show, Rhythm and Booms, for years until it was moved downtown. At its peak, Rhythm and Booms drew 100,000 plus people with music, air shows, and explosive displays. Fun and weird facts. The stadium lights can be seen from across Lake Mendota on game nights. One of the early Mallards mascots was a giant banana, don't ask. Local legend claims the park is so big, one guy got lost in the fields during a foggy ultimate frisbee tournament and wandered into a family reunion he didn't belong to and stayed for dinner. 1980s, Muskie Mania and Foam Finger Riots. 1990, empty stands and confused mascots. 2000, launches brats from a t-shirt cannon. Today, get stuck in a hot dog costume during Salute to Tubed Meat Night. Final thought. Warner Park is a Madison gem, a place where kids grow up playing t-ball, adults unwind with concerts and food truck nights, and Mallards fans pound cheese curds in 90-degree heat while heckling Summer League pitchers. Elver Park, the Wild West Side Wonderland. Location: Southwest Madison, near McKenna Boulevard and Hammersley Road. At 227 acres, it's Madison's largest community park. History timeline: 1950 to 1960. Madison expands west. As Madison grew, the west side became a hot spot for new neighborhoods. The city recognized a need for green space as the area developed. 1968, Elver Park is born. Land was acquired from the Elver family, hence the name, and development began for a major community park. Originally designed to include athletic fields, trails, and open space for West Side residents. Park development over the years. Elver Park has evolved steadily into a four-season destination, with improvements and community investments over time. Summer. Playgrounds, soccer fields, baseball diamonds, shelters, and picnic areas. Splash pad added in recent years, extremely popular with kids and overheated parents. Winter. Legendary sledding hill, possibly Madison's most famous. Ice skating, cross-country skiing, and even snowmaking equipment to keep the fun going in mild winters. Fireworks and festivals. Elver Park was home to Madison's West Side 4th of July fireworks show for years, attracting thousands. Known for family-friendly events, occasional chaos with traffic, kids with glow sticks, and that one guy grilling brats on the disc golf tee. Fireworks were moved or paused some years due to budget cuts or safety concerns, but the park still holds a reputation as the place where things go boom. Popular features today: disc golf course, 18 holes, and lots of tree hugging. Basketball and tennis courts. Nature and walking trails through woods and prairies. Community events, like movie nights and neighborhood gatherings. A community center nearby, serving local youth and programs. Local kids think the splash pad shoots liquid happiness, and maybe a little eau de chlorine. One guy tried to host a frozen Olympics that included sled bowling and snowball archery. It didn't end well.
Disc golf ballet.
Final thought. Elver Park is more than just grass and trees. It's a community hub, seasonal playground, and a little slice of chaos and charm that helps define Madison's southwest side. Henry Vilas Zoo, Madison's free wild kingdom. Location: in Vilas Park, just south of UW-Madison and near Lake Wingra. It's part of a larger green space that includes beaches, trails, and picnic spots, making it a one-stop spot for family adventures. A quick history timeline. 1904, a gift of grief and love. William and Anna Vilas donated 50 acres of land to the city in honor of their son, Henry, who died of diabetes at age 17. They specified that the land must always be used for public recreation and remain free to everyone, no exceptions. William Vilas was a U.S. Senator, Postmaster General, and University of Wisconsin Regent. 1911, the zoo was born. Madison's Park and Pleasure Drive Association began adding animal exhibits to the parkland, initially small critters like raccoons and deer. The official Henry Vilas Zoo opened in 1911, making it over 110 years old today. 1920 to 1950, lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, and more. The zoo expanded its collection. Lions, tigers, and
Bears, oh my.
And monkeys. A seal named Oscar, who reportedly escaped multiple times to go splash around in Lake Wingra. It became a true community zoo, with donations and volunteer support playing a huge role. 1960 to 1990 community-powered growth. Local kids held lemonade stands and fundraisers to help build exhibits. Seriously. The zoo modernized with more naturalistic enclosures, playgrounds, and a train ride that became legendary among toddlers. Modern era. Conservation, education, and ice cream. Now home to over 650 animals, including African lions, Amur tigers, red pandas, Aldabra giant tortoises, orangutans, capybaras, and penguins. Penguins no more, maybe in the future. The zoo focuses on education, conservation, and accessibility, all while staying 100% free, thanks to city funding and donations. It's accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA, meaning it meets high standards for animal care and ethics. Fan favorite features: children's zoo, goats, chickens, and face-to-face encounters. Tropical rainforest aviary, home to beautiful birds, poison dart frogs, and humidity. Carousel and train, iconic rides that every Madison kid remembers. Ice cream stand. It just hits different after watching a grizzly bear nap in the sun. Events and fun. Zoo Run, a family-friendly race through the zoo. Boo at the Zoo, Halloween event with costumes and candy. Wild Lights, a wintertime light show that turns the zoo into a glowing wonderland. Yeah, the lion acts all majestic, but he's scared of squirrels. And don't get me started on the flamingos, drama queens with feathers. Final fun facts. One of the only free zoos in the U.S. that's also AZA accredited. Open year-round, even during Wisconsin winters, because the bears don't care. Supported by the Henry Vilas Zoological Society, which raises funds and throws parties for giraffes. Well, kinda.